Welcome back. Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts insists on meeting with South African Airways Board. Airline representatives were today supposed to explain their failure to submit financial reports or statements to Parliament for 2 straight years, but they were again a no-show. Now the SAA Board is tonight refuting accusations that it's not cooperating fully with Parliament. It says it's been given permission to defer the meeting. For more on this, I'm joined from our Cape Town studios by SCOPA chairperson Mkhuleko Hlengwa. A very good evening to you, Mkhuleko. Thank you for your time. So, SAA issuing a statement in the last hour or two saying it's been granted permission to defer the presentation to SCOPA. When exactly did they seek that permission, and was it indeed granted as they say?
Look, SAA sent a letter to me at 11 o'clock today whilst I was chairing the meeting of SCOPA, which was dealing with the issues of correctional services. I think that SAA is not being honest, and I think they're not dealing with us in good faith. And I would suggest that they disabuse themselves of that kind of outlook if they want to create a conducive and enabling environment for us to be able to interact with each other in the collective interests of the airline. That's the first point. Secondly, if SAA is honest, they should then tell us that we agreed with them in the meeting of the 13th of November that they must make submissions on the 20th of November. They have not done so. And now I'm not sure then where they get off, really, with that kind of attitude. We have been very flexible, very understanding under the circumstances to give them the space and time to manage their affairs. But that does not mean that we are going to negate our own responsibilities as Parliament, SCOPA specifically, to make sure that the public purse is managed in a manner which is consistent with the PFMA, MFMA, and other Treasury regulations. So I'm certainly not going to subject SCOPA or Parliament to a public slinging match with SAA. SAA knows exactly where they have erred, they know exactly where they have gone wrong, and in their letter today they indicated that they would need 10 days, and after that they would want come back to us and seek a date. The committee agreed in a special meeting which had to be convened after we were done with correctional services, and the committee said we will meet then with SAA next week Thursday. The committee is now having to go there, and we want the information by Tuesday. So I am disappointed, to say the very least, that SAA would want to escalate the kind of negativity and tension which is in the public discourse by now wanting to alienate SCOPA. So certainly I do not agree with what the accusations being leveled against us by the SAA management and board.
This failure by SAA's board to appear before you as SCOPA today, coupled with this 2-year delay or failure by the national carrier to submit its financial statements, has been read as a sign of disrespect. Do you, as SCOPA, feel disrespected by the SAA board?
The fundamental issue is not about how we feel. The fundamental issue is that there is non-compliance with the law in the PFMA. The law is very clear. Financial statements must be submitted by the 30th of September on each financial year. SAA has not done that for 2 consecutive years, and that is why we are zooming into it. And you'll recall that it's not just SAA that has not submitted. We've dealt with Alesco, we dealt with NSFAS, amongst others. We had hearings with them, we scheduled dates, and they made their submissions. SAA appeared before us on the 13th and explained the circumstances which had led to them not submitting. We indicated to them that we were not satisfied with that explanation because, amongst other things, they had anchored their outlook to not submit on a legal opinion. Well, an opinion is just an opinion, and the law is the law, and the law is fact. And we said to them, well, give us that legal opinion so we can test it and benchmark it against the law. And parliamentary services, legal services, was on standby to make sure that they assist us look into it. That was not forthcoming. SAA did not submit it. So parliamentary legal services proceeded to look into the issues of the PFMA, and we are quite emboldened by their advice and opinion, and we are certain that there is no two ways about submission. SAA must submit. What is extraordinary here, Tembele, and important is that, one, we are not ignorant to the challenges at SAA, and that is why we are devising an extraordinary measure and step to enable SAA to assist. And today we wanted to develop that roadmap so that we are not haphazard in our outlook. And so it's fundamental then that, and I told this to SAA in our meeting, they must accept the fact that they have not complied, and particularly two sets of financial statements. On the 31st of March 2020, then this financial year is going to come to an end. If we prolong this, we're going to find ourselves settled with 3 years of non-submission. And that is fundamentally where the challenge is. We are expecting compliance with the law. That's our job and that's our function.
Let me come in here, Mkhuleko, and say you're not the first SCOPA chairperson, sadly, to speak quite strongly to SAA representatives during an appearance before your committee. And still, 2 years later, we're still waiting for these financials, which have not been submitted. As of this afternoon, you were trying to get legal opinion on how to proceed with this matter. So should next week's deadline not materialize, because many deadlines have been missed already, let's keep it real here, what options are available to you to hold SAA to account? What can you do?
Well, the legal opinion we sought was not this afternoon. The legal opinion was triggered by the fact that SAA said they had not submitted on the basis of a legal opinion. And so we then wanted to embolden ourselves and the position we had taken with the law, and we found that we are correct. What I want to put very frankly on the table is that the meeting of next week, Thursday, is not negotiable. And the submission of information next week, Tuesday, is not negotiable either. Should SAA fail to comply with the roadmap and the timelines we are effecting, we are going to set into motion our own process without them, which will force them to submit financial statements. We are not going to allow a situation where SAA self-regulates itself and that it will submit on its own terms and conditions. We must not have a situation where SAA abuses our sense of understanding and under the circumstances in which they find themselves in. This is an entity that has received bailouts of over 57 billion rands over the past 25 years. This is an airline that has not been able to pay its workers. This is an airline that is in serious trouble. And that trouble requires all of us to put shoulder to the wheel. And if we are to do that, we then as SCOPA must ensure that due process is followed. SAA is not going to define itself outside the law. So the committee today is drawing the line and saying this goes, it ends here and goes no further. And that is why we taking the extraordinary step as a committee of putting boots on the ground and actually going to SAA ourselves. If they can't come to Parliament, Parliament will come to them.
It ends here and goes no further. Good point to leave it. Mkhuleko Hlengwa, chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. I have a feeling, though, as we've said with many other guests, that we'll possibly be dancing around the same spot in the coming days. But thank you for speaking to us tonight.